evening. We have established a quorum. We will now begin with the pledge. Welcome and thank you all for joining us. We will begin with our superintendent comments.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'd like to start this evening by congratulating the 28 magnet schools that were recognized last week by the Magnet Schools of America National Merit Awards Program. 12 schools were named Schools of Excellence, the top honor, while 16 were named Schools of Distinction. The number of schools recognized in these two categories is more than last year's total of 27. Schools are judged by a panel of educators based on their demonstrated ability to raise academic achievement, promote racial and socioeconomic diversity, provide integrated curricula and instruction, and create strong family and community partnerships that enhance the school's magnet theme. Our magnet program has succeeded for so many years in a row that it's easy for some to take that success for granted. So I'll take this opportunity to repeat what we're often told by Magnet Schools of America. Our magnet schools are a model for other school districts and communities throughout the nation. Those recognized as schools of excellence are Brentwood, Conn, Farmington Woods, Hunter, Wendell, Wiley Magnet Elementary Schools, and Daniels, East Garner, Ligon, Martin, and Moore Square Magnet Middle Schools, as well as Wake STEM Early College High School. Our schools of distinction are Brooks, Fox Road, Fuller, Green, Powell, Smith, Stow, Washington, and Zebulon Magnet Elementary Schools, Carnage, Carroll, East Millbrook, and West Millbrook Magnet Middle Schools, and Athens Drive and Enlow Magnet High Schools, as well as Vernon Malone College and Career Academy. I congratulate all of these schools, their faculty, and their staffs for this achievement. Preparing students for college and career is, as you know, at the heart of our Vision 2020 strategic plan, and it's never too early for students to start thinking about life after graduation. So I was pleased to learn of the robust career day held this past Friday at Davis Drive Middle School. Approximately 60 members of the community representing a wide variety of career choices visited with students and answered questions about their career path and what their jobs might entail. Students heard from a meteorologist, a pediatric intensive care doctor, a pharmacist, a director of NC State University dance program, a software engineer, a master inventor, a park ranger, an Air Force captain, and many, many more. Students were engaged with every speaker, asking questions and no doubt envisioning how they might one day see themselves in that role and pursue some of these careers themselves. My thanks go to everyone at Davis Drive for organizing this event and to our community members for giving of their time and talent. The Cinderella Project is a student-run charity that needs our support. I'd like to once again bring to your attention the community engagement portion of our strategic plan as I highlight this initiative. Wake County Student Government Association started the project to collect prom attire for fellow students who may not be able to afford their own several years ago. The program is seeking prom dresses, tuxedos, suits, accessories, shoes, jewelry, makeup, neckties, bow ties, and cufflinks. Prom is such an integral part of the high school experience, and every student deserves the opportunity to take part in this memorable night. So please, if you would, consider a donation. You can find out more at wcpss.net/Cinderella. And finally, I will end my comments this evening by commending our students and teachers for the ways in which they have responded to the February 14th tragedy at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. As many of you noted at our last meeting, the tragedy is almost unimaginable for many families and students. High school students in particular have demanded a voice in the national conversations that followed. But a voice driven only by anger and fear is often ineffective. Harnessing those emotions to a responsible, effective message is much better. By now, I'm sure it's become apparent to all of you, we have asked our schools to support this as a teachable moment for students, especially in high school. I do expect students will continue to search for that voice in the coming weeks. As they do, I want parents and the public to know that our first priority is their safety. There are many ways to provide a safe and secure environment for students. None is better than a strong relationship between them and us, the adults in their lives. The stronger the relationships between children and all adults, parents, pastors, teachers, coaches, and many others, the safer our schools are today and for many years to come. That, Madam Chair and members of the board, concludes my remarks.
Thank you. I will be brief tonight and just commend and echo your sentiments, commending our students. As someone who started my advocacy career as a young person as well and continued in my professional career, I'm not just astounded by how organized and how effective our students are using social media to really speak loud and clear with one voice. I'm also quite impressed with the number of students and student groups who've reached out to me to want to share their voice on various subjects, gun safety being the priority today, but I've also heard from students who want to speak to us about our Healthful Living curriculum, student and adolescent smoking. And so I point those things out to note that while the tragedy in Parkland was a tragedy for the entire country, and I will continue to remind us that as we take in those visuals that all of us are experiencing secondary trauma, and so I encourage all of us to be taking care of ourselves, and a part of taking care of ourselves is using our voice and speaking out in ways that we want to engage. And so I will say to all of our finalists in front of us, you are indeed helping us grow the next future, actually I think the current future leaders. They are showing us right now today the things that you are pouring into them in the ways that they have not just spoken out to, I'm sure, my colleagues, but definitely directly to me as board chair, as ways that I will amplify their voice. And so I'm publicly thanking them and applauding them, and also taking into great consideration how we do amplify the voice and the decision making that they are wisely choosing to use their voice in a constructive manner, but also giving us great feedback. And so for all the adults in the room who are nurturing and feeding and are part of those young people's villages, I say thank you and continue to nurture those relationships, because that's actually what will sustain their leadership and their wise decision making. And so I'm grateful, and it's a perfect time for me to thank those of you in front of us that we're recognizing tonight for being a part of that village that's raising these leaders who are able to speak out vigilantly and quite loudly about what's right and what they think the great next steps are. So thank all of you in the audience, and thank all the parents in the village who are listening and supporting our young people. And for that, I'm grateful. Dr. Martin.
Thank you. The comments about voice, as you can hear, I've had a few days where I've reflected on one's voice. And there are times when one doesn't have as much of a voice, and you depend on your community to have a voice. And that is what we've been seeing, and that's what I want to celebrate across the whole school system, and frankly across the nation. I mean, I get to watch it through my own child's eyes, who's in college in Ohio. But yes, the children we train here, what starts here changes everything, and it really does blossom around the country and around the world. So keep up that voice, even when we don't all have it. We got to work together with that voice. Had a great time discussing some of our CTE opportunities with the community group a couple weeks ago. I think people don't always recognize what all offerings we have here in Wake County Public Schools. About 65% of our high school students engage, high school and middle school students take part in at least one CTE class, which is fantastic. Those participating in our CTE programming have a 100% graduation rate. So that's something very much to celebrate. Had a wonderful time reading with the first graders at Combs Elementary School. We went from reading the wonderful story by Jan Brett of Armadillo Rodeo and leading from the curiosity of that little armadillo to understanding how to be a scientist. So we had a great conversation. And we had great conversation this morning with my Board Advisory Council, talking about things like safety, and thank Terry Kimsey also for coming to discuss some of the budget priorities. Good meeting. Thanks.
just echo the comments that were made by previous board members, and do want to send a quick shout out to our Heritage High boys basketball team and the Southeast Raleigh girls basketball team for representing us, or will be representing us in the state basketball championship finals this weekend. So just a shout out to both of those student teams, those student athletes. So look forward to supporting you all this weekend. Thanks.
Good evening. I want to also applaud our chair's comments, and I think we all need to lift up our voices. Our vice chair has also said, but the voice of students. So very heartened by the work of our students this past week. Also, the Wake AHA Advocates for Health in Action held a steering committee. Ms. Cash and I were able to attend around ACEs at the Adverse Childhood Experiences. So knowing that we have a strong community group that's looking at ways that we all can contribute to making sure that we help adults with their ACEs and their trauma, but also make sure that our students are spared ACEs when we can have those preventable, more public health and other interventions in place so that we can address our children and make sure that they are avoiding these ACEs when they can. And also, it was fun to be at Combs. I got to be with the little kindergartners who are also a lot of fun. They always comment on, my hair and my dress, and as well as the reading. So they are so engaging, and Combs did a wonderful job to make it a true school-wide Read Across America. And it's been fun to look on Twitter and see the other schools that are reading across the county. So that was a lot of fun this last week. And I want to also lift up Sanderson High School. Their Image Club had a Black History performance for the entire school. It was a wonderful time to be there with their gospel choir, their step team, and they put on a great performance for the entire student body. So very thanks Sanderson for including me in that.
I want to thank or send a big shout out to the Carolina Hurricanes for the absolutely fabulous revolution that celebrated. Yeah, I didn't. I gave my towels to my grandsons. What struck me so much was the opportunity to celebrate not academic achievement or sports achievement, but simply celebrate reading, because we know that is the key to the success in life, is being able to read and to simply read. And to see these screaming children in the arena, I think the Hurricanes need a lesson, like give a bunch of free tickets away to some children and you got your pep group. It was pretty amazing. So I'm very much appreciative for the emphasis on reading. I also attended the Citizens First Music and Awards. I can't even tell you, sometime in the last week, I think. This was a time to honor quite a few young people in the community who are doing the right thing, making the right choices, and putting all of their efforts into making sure that they have a really good education. And there were students from all walks and backgrounds, and it was just really rewarding to watch and to hear about their accomplishments. I have been having my little Kathy chats where I sit at coffee clubs and talk to parents. And it's one of the greatest things that I've added to my list of things to do, because you learn a lot about how parents interact with our schools, and they give you absolutely wonderful ideas, and then you're able to also help them get the additional information that they need. So that's been really successful. My next one will be in Morrisville, which is next Thursday, the 15th at 10 o'clock at Common Grounds Coffee. I have my BAC meeting, my Board Advisory Council meeting, this Thursday at 5:30 at Sycamore Creek, and we will be discussing school safety during that meeting. And finally, this is sort of tying in and also a personal note here. I look at all of our teachers that we're honoring, and I never want to miss an opportunity to tell you and to say to you, thank you. Thank you for choosing to teach. It is the most important profession there is, and you choose it every day. And this board, I know I can speak for them and say how appreciative we are of what you do. And I also look out because I retired after 37 years in education, and I say, oh my gosh, they're so young. And so then I got reminded tonight about why we're so young. Sitting to my right, Meredith Taggart. Bless her sweet soul, she was in my class in 5th grade and now has 5 children in the Wake County Public School System. Thank you, Meredith, for your confidence in us. So teachers, beware. You never know when they're going to come back around. So welcome, Meredith. Thank you.
As noted, it's we just finished Read Across America Week. I want to thank Holly Grove Elementary School, White Oak, Herbert Akins, and Apex Elementary for inviting me to come into the classroom and read to your children. As someone who is no longer in the classroom on a daily basis, but I still feel like I'm a teacher at heart, it doesn't go away. To put it into context, that really filled my bucket. And I feel like this was, to continue with the vernacular, very bucket-filling week for me. I was invited by the Turner Creek Elementary faculty to see Resilience, the movie that we've been talking about that addresses adverse childhood experiences. There was a great group of teacher leaders that I had an open invitation to Wake County educators to see a film that is now escaping me because I didn't write it down, Teach Us All, and to have a courageous conversation afterwards. And thanks to Apex Friendship High School for hosting that. I really enjoyed following all of the tweets from NC Ties. That was just so amazing to see our students sharing their learning, our teachers. We know that when you have the time to get together, great things happen and you learn from each other. And a big shout out to the principal of Oakview Elementary School, Steve Moore, who was selected to be the outstanding leader at NC Ties. Continuing on, it was just a banner week. I don't know. The Apex Chamber celebrated the Teacher and TA of the Year, and always good to honor our teachers. We have a fantastic board meeting ahead of us with you all being here and to celebrate you and all the work that you do, and I cannot say thank you enough, because it's not easy work. It's good work. It's hard work. It's fulfilling work. Sometimes you have weeks like this, and other weeks you're really dipping into that bucket. On the business end of thing, my BAC meeting will be next Monday on the 12th at 6:30 p.m. at Apex High School, which is being housed at the Green Level High School campus. And we will be talking about school construction and renovation. Thank you.
I as well went to the Combs Elementary. I was supposed to read to the first graders, and I was so scared they were going to do this to me, and they did it. They gave me a 4th grade class to read to. So I had not practiced my reading, and it was because my grandson was in 4th grade. So I had a much bigger book, but I was hoping for the 1st grade class. But we had a really great time, and I made it through it, and it was fun. And my grandson was not embarrassed that I was there, so that was good too. Went to the hurricane event, and I was amazed to see so much partnership with the Hurricanes and the reading and the kids screaming. And yes, I think the Hurricanes themselves were real impressed with the amount of noise that students in Wake County can make, and that was only a few, like 9,000, I think, right, of them. So, that was impressive, and I enjoyed that a lot. But I do appreciate the partnership with the Hurricanes. Again, I did enjoy going to the ACES event. It's about building resilience with children, but with adults as well, and I think we all can learn a lot by that. That's a great program, another great partnership that we can hopefully bring a lot of our community into. Teachers, I also thank you so much. I've had 4 kids that went through the Wake County Public Schools, and every time that I went to a classroom or spent time in a classroom, I was just so impressed and just knew I would never be able to be a teacher. But I just really thank you for that, all that you do in those classrooms. I'm visiting all my PTAs in my district, and I've been to 5 of the meetings. I've got quite a few more to go, actually. And it's still interesting to me as how different our PTAs and the schools are, and looking to see the needs that they meet in our schools and just how much they give back to our schools and our teachers, but they love doing whatever they can for the teachers. So I'm going to try to get with all the PTAs in my district. And then finally, I did, Ms. Hardestein and I went to an event last Thursday evening, I think it was, with Wake Med Forum, listened to, I think it was Dr. Newman, who wrote a book about children and medicine and wellness, and Wake Med does want to be a partner with the Wake County Schools. So again, I'm very focused on partnerships with our community, because I think our community can do so much more for us because we've got a great community. So that's been my week.
And I'll add a couple other things to this list of, you have a very active board in case you hadn't figured it out. 2 weeks ago tomorrow, most of this board was present at the legislature to hear the first committee meeting about the rules they would put in place for the possibility of breaking up large school districts. It was an interesting meeting. There were more of us there than the committee members when the meeting started. They didn't even have a quorum in place. Before they finished, they did have a quorum, and staff had presented some information that compared student performance to size of district. And no conclusions could be drawn from that information. So it's going to be interesting to see how this committee moves forward and what recommendations they choose to make to the legislature as an official investigative committee, if you will. Redvolution, the kids who got to go got either a red or a white towel. Cool school field trip, they called it.
It was great.
And it was. The children who participated in the reading 20 minutes a day, that was the deal, 20-20, read 20 minutes a day, they read 258,000 books in about a 6-week period. So it was terrific. Shout out to the Apex Chamber of Commerce for their teacher and assistant teacher celebration. Also, Read Across America. I got to do this. Okay. Dr. Seuss, what can you say? And I had the pleasure of reading, and to think that they saw it on Mulberry Street. There were lots of options, but we chose that one to do it. And the kids in Ms. Phillips' class at Swift Creek had prepared a thank you card, not knowing what they did have my name on it, yeah. Well, they all signed it. And this is the kind of thing that as a non-teacher just says, thank you. The teacher took enough time to have the kids take enough time to say thank you to a volunteer that would come in and read to the schools. And so I think that's terrific. A couple other things. A couple of us went to the annual legislative breakfast held by the Farm Bureau. You might say, well, why would you do that? We have 15 FFA clubs in our high schools and middle schools, and they're growing. There's a new one in Athens this year. There are close to 900 students involved in the official clubs, and I believe the number is close to 4,000 students taking ag courses across our schools. And I don't know if it's Heritage or Wake Forest. One of those two high schools is actually starting an ag business academy this coming year. And I hate that I couldn't remember which one it is. And this morning, our temporary superintendent, albeit experienced superintendent, and I had the pleasure of meeting with the Leadership Cary group. There's about 40 business leaders in Cary who are participating in that weeks-long program, and we shared with them about the Wake County Public School System and the quality that's happening for our students, as well as some of the challenges we face moving forward. My Board Advisory Council will meet on the 19th of March at Northwoods Elementary School at 5:30. We invite folks to come, and the agenda is going to I know school security is going to be on the agenda, but there'll be other things on it as well. And I do want to echo the thank you to all the teachers in Wake County, and particularly to the semifinalists, Teachers of the Year from your various schools here tonight. Thank you so much for what you do every day.
Madam Chair, my bucket stays so full that I kind of forgot one item.
Absolutely.
This week. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it also. For Read Across America Day, spent some time at Walnut Creek Elementary and read a book about Romare Bearden to some of the fifth graders, and we also took some time to debrief the Black Panther movie as well. So though we were supposed to focus on...
Did y'all say Wakanda forever? I'm just saying.
Well, actually we did. So they were quite excited about that. So, and then they also had a Black History program after that, so stayed for a few minutes and saw some of that. So thanks to the Walnut Creek family and Principal Wanda Martin Jenkins for having me there as well.
Thank you. I will now ask for a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda.
I move approval of the
Tonight's
agenda. I'm
Second. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move to public comment. Citizens who sign up to address the board during public comment will be called on in priority order, first for items on the agenda and then for items not on the agenda. Each individual speaker will be allowed 3 minutes for remarks. Specific personnel or student matters are not appropriate for this public comment setting, but may be addressed through applicable WCPSS personnel, the grievance policy, or other applicable policies. Sonia Detweiler.
A Wake County resident. I oppose your bring your own device policy, and here's why. Parents are told that all Wake County schools have SEPA-compliant Wi-Fi networks that prevent our children from accessing harmful internet content during school, so we shouldn't worry about sending our children to school with their own smartphones. And I ask, how does this apply to school buses? The answer is it doesn't. I no longer allow my son to ride the school bus. It is unsafe. The bus is not SEPA-compliant. I also recently learned that most kids have cellular data plans on their phones, which allows them to bypass the school's Wi-Fi network anyway. If schools cannot enforce SEPA as part of their bring their own device policy, then schools have no business encouraging kids to bring their own device because our children are not being protected. I have firsthand knowledge that our children are viewing or being exposed to online pornography and other harmful content of the most grotesque kind on the school bus with these devices, and there is nothing to prevent it. Think about this. In the past decade, the fastest growing population of online porn addicts are boys aged 12 to 18, and the girls dating these boys are impacted too. This exposure and these internet devices are literally disconnecting our children from humanity, and we wonder why news stories about sexual harassment and sex trafficking are on the rise. Every snow day, I receive a phone call from Wake County Public Schools stating that student safety are their #1 priority, and yet the schools promote owning an internet device, a gateway to violent, harmful content that elementary, middle schoolers, and many high school students are not developmentally ready to receive. Content that, when viewed, stimulates part of the brain, stimulates chemical reactions in the brain just like heroin. In fact, MRI studies have shown that the same parts of the brain light up whether the person views porn or takes a hit of heroin. How does allowing unsupervised internet access on the school bus make our kids' safety our #1 priority? In addition, the BYOD policy also encourages online addiction because most devices receive constant notifications from apps, social media, and instant messaging, causing students distraction from learning, anxiety, and the compulsive need to check the device throughout the day. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends a maximum of 2 hours of screen time per day for children K through 12. How do parents achieve this without your help? How did a technological device become more important than our children's social, emotional, physical, and mental well-being? I challenge you to be part of the solution against online addiction instead of part of the problem. If you can't secure SEPA compliancy nor mandate screen time limits in schools, then please change your BYOD policy to DNBYOD. Do not bring your own device. Thank you for listening, and I offer my services. I have started a parent organization called Kids Before Screens with Meredith, and we would like to partner with you to make change. Thank you.
Meredith Campbell.
My name is Meredith Campbell from Raleigh. My children attend public schools in Wake County, and I grew up in the Wake County public school system, as you've heard. I have 5 children, and I've been a high school teacher in public schools in another state. I oppose the bring your own device policy. I propose a do not bring your own device policy instead, and I'd like to talk about why. I will assume, and I've seen through your heartfelt comments, that everyone in this room is here because we all care deeply about the safety and well-being of children. We all want them to succeed in life, to be educated, to find joy in their families and careers. Because of the internet and 24-hour access to it through mobile devices, our children today are being bombarded with messages of every kind. And as I'm sure you know, much of what they are ingesting is worthless. Mind-numbing scrolling through social media sites, playing games, endless YouTube videos, and much of what they're exposed to is worse than that. It's online gambling, bullying, hatred, and violence. At the top of our list of concerns should be pornography, a plague of our day, which often catches our children and other loved ones in its grip and doesn't let go. Have you ever seen someone changed from a vibrant, loving person to an angry, defensive, secretive, and unkind person? I have. Do you have a friend or family member who's become so attached to their phone that they choose the escape it provides over healthy real-life interactions? I have. The internet has provided our children with unlimited access to pornography, and it's a drug as addictive as heroin. We cannot be naive about this. Because of the relative newness of the internet, I believe we are just beginning to see the effects of increased exposure to pornography. More explicit, more hardcore images and videos are available to our children than existed in our generations. The addiction is real, and it's not getting easier to keep porn away from our children. The effects of porn addiction are more far-reaching than some of us want to believe. It ravages relationships, breaks up families, and leads to illicit, illegal behavior. It breeds narcissism. It drives the human trafficking industry. It objectifies humans, especially women and children. It breaks the tender hearts of those who should be loved and protected. Porn is offered to us all freely as something healthy, natural, and good. That is an absolute lie, spread by people out to make money, and they do, lots of it. However you personally feel about pornography, I think we can all agree that it's not acceptable on school campuses. And yet, many of our children are exposed to it every day. Our schools should be better protected from this, and it is possible. I again propose a do not bring your own device to school policy countywide. At a minimum, students should be required to keep their devices in their backpacks while they're on campus. No phones out at lunch, between classes, and certainly not in class. Teachers should plan an entire class period without leaving time after their lessons for kids to be on personal devices. I predict that with a do not bring your own device policy, we will see positive changes in our children's public school experiences. I predict better grades, less bullying, and happier, more respectful students in our schools. Please let us implement a do not bring your own device policy in Wake County. Thank you.
Lone Tran.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lone. I live in Durham, and I support high school students who go to school in Raleigh in the Wake County area. On February 14th, 2018, one of the largest school shootings in the U.S. occurred in Florida, leaving 17 high school students and teachers dead at the hands of a 19-year-old white male shooter. We mourn for the lives lost. We hold the community of Parkland, Florida in our thoughts, and we stand in solidarity as the brave survivors fighting for safer schools. We support these students' efforts in advocating for better gun control and putting an end to gun violence in schools. We also believe it is important to broaden the conversation around what violence in schools look like. When a faculty member verbally abuses a student of color for not standing up for the national anthem, it is an act of violence. When a curriculum does not include the history of the Chicanx people in the U.S., it is an act of violence. When a school decides to ban Muslim prayer, it is an act of violence. When a young black girl gets reprimanded for, quote, having an attitude, it is an act of violence. When a trans or gender nonconforming student is not allowed to use the bathroom of their chosen gender, it is an act of violence. While these occurrences have become normalized in our schools, they are not normal. They are rooted in systems of racism, Islamophobia, sexism, and transphobia. Violence is our young people feeling unsafe in their classrooms because they are oppressed based on their race, perceived gender or sexual orientation, religion, disability, or more. As the gun and school safety debate continues, our school systems are grappling with what is necessary to prevent future mass shootings. Some elected officials in North Carolina have even stated their support for arming teachers. We know that this cannot be the solution to gun violence. Others have discussed increasing the presence of police officers, also known as school resource officers. We know that this is also not a solution to gun violence. Continuing to escalate our classrooms towards more surveillance and towards the normalization of youth of color and oppressed young people being brutalized by police officers is not the solution to gun violence or any other violence impacting our schools. We need to invest in funding our teachers, our school counselors and nurses. We need more money for restorative justice programs, not arresting young people and funneling them into prison cells. We need more funding for extracurricular programs and to ensure that young people see themselves reflected in their classrooms. We do not have all of the solutions to ending violence in our schools, but we do know that when students and youth, teachers and parents organize together, we can name, confront, and undo the physical, spiritual, and emotional violence of injustices. And what we do together can be more powerful than what lawmakers and law enforcers, what politicians and police officers can put in place. We commend the students in Parkland, Florida, who have boldly proclaimed never again. In solidarity, we echo their sentiments and say never again to white supremacy, homophobia and transphobia, anti-immigrant bigotry, Islamophobia, and any other injustice harming and killing our young people. Thank you.
Cece Cronmiller.
Hello, I'm Cece Cronmiller, a 7th grade student at Martin Gifted and Talented Magnet Middle School.
And I'm Wolfgang Enders. I'm filling in for my friend Abby, who is supposed to be doing this part, but is doing Pieces of Gold instead. I'm also from the same school.
We are here today not to ask you of anything, purely to inform you. I assume that you know of the 17 people fatally shot in Parkland, Florida. We are tired of schools just like our own being shot down.
I'm sure that everyone here has given their thoughts and prayers, but thoughts and prayers are not enough.
These people are dead because the country's leaders didn't put effort into keeping them safe. Their names are
Alyssa Al-Hadaf, Scott Beagle, Martin Duku Anguiano, Nicholas Dworet, Aaron Feast, Jamie Gutenberg, Chris Hickson, Luke Hoyer, Kara Lauren, Joaquin Oliver, Elena Petty, Meadow Pollock, Helena Ramsey, Alex Schachter, Carmen Schentrup, and Peter Wang. If we don't put a stop to this, then many other schools, just like ours, could be shot down, all because there were not enough safety measures.
The next time you hear a lecture like this, don't brush it off.
We could be the next ones on the list.
Our school community has decided we've heard enough of schools being shot up. We are conducting a walkout on March 14th.
We are conducting a walkout because we are still in danger.
I'm tired of coming home from school to hear about another shooting, exhausted from the fear that my school could be next. Please, help us put these tragedies to a stop, not by arming teachers, but to fund more school psychologists, counselors, and social workers.
Do not arm teachers with guns, arm them with textbooks, technology, and knowledge. We can end this issue now and keep the future of America alive. Thank you.
And Wolfie, you're next as well.
Yes. Hello, my name is Wolfgang Enders, and I'm an 8th grade student at Martin Gifted and Talented Magnet Middle School. Me and Cece are leaders in planning a school walkout at Martin on March 14th to raise awareness about gun violence. As you've already heard, we are trying to reduce the amount of gun violence, especially in schools and in the teen population in North Carolina, and hopes that North Carolina becomes a role model for other states around the country. Though the walkouts have started raising awareness on the issue, we would like to do more. I have written a petition to the North Carolina General Assembly asking for them to stop or prevent gun violence. We are asking that all teachers in North Carolina get paid at least the national average of $58,000 annually because they are the people that teach the next generation and therefore create the future of America. We want the state of North Carolina to fund more school psychologists, school counselors, and school social workers because they can help the kids with social and emotional problems work through their problems before they unleash them in a violent manner. They can also teach all of us to have better mental health. Lastly, while we know this is not your responsibility, we want you to know that we are also requesting that all automatic and semi-automatic assault-style weapons, all accessories to make guns automatic and semi-automatic, and all high-capacity magazines become illegal in North Carolina. We are circulating the petition that we plan on taking to the North Carolina General Assembly and the Governor's Office. What we are respectfully asking you to do is to go back to the Wake County Commissioners and to request more funding for the school counselors, psychologists, and social workers. We also want you to go to the General Assembly and request more funding for all teachers in North Carolina. We would also like to thank you for allowing students to peacefully protest in Wake County, and thank you for allowing us to speak here tonight, and we hope you seriously consider our proposal. Thank you.
Ella June Burge Walls.
Hi, my name is Ella Burge Walls. I'm a sixth grader at Martin Middle School. First off, I want to thank you for supporting students' rights to free speech by supporting the marches, walkouts, and other activities that students are organizing in response to the terrible incident in Parkland, Florida at Douglas High School. I'm working with an 8th grader and other students at our school to organize the event on March 14th for 17 minutes to honor the students and teachers who were murdered. We also want to say that gun violence is a huge problem in the USA. The Florida shooting is a perfect example. Another white male was able to get his hands on a military-grade weapon, an AR-15, and he used it to kill 17 people. We kids need to be able to go to school and not have to worry about being shot. A couple weeks ago, we had a fire drill, but this time our principal made an announcement right before the drill. She said we might be thinking about the Parkland shooting and that this isn't a real shooting, it's just a drill and we don't need to be worried. I thought, really? Is this what we have to worry about at our school? Our principal has to start a fire drill by saying it's not a real shooting? I'm here to say that students, even 6th graders from middle school, have smart ideas and we can voice our opinions. Everyone has a voice, including children and teenagers. And on this topic, our voices are the most important. More guns in schools will not make us safer. Teachers with guns will not make us safer. More police with guns will not make us safer. School board members, I ask that you keep supporting students' right to speak for ourselves. Please oppose any proposals for teachers to have guns or for more policemen and SROs in schools. Thank you.
Tavon Bridges.
I was hoping I didn't have to follow that. My name is Tavon Bridges. I'm 22 years old. I'm a product of Wake County school system. I went to Nightdale High School. Throughout my years in high school, I organized with a lot of young folks to do what similarly is happening around the country with walkouts in the wake of gun violence. But with the election of 45 and the actions of Congress, I am very unsure of the state of all Wake County students and all students around the country. With the up in the airness of Congress when it comes to DACA students, with the decisions of adding extra security to our schools in the wakes of these tragedies, I'm worried for our Black and brown students. So I'm hoping I cannot rely on them or 45 to make the right decision. I'm relying on you guys to make the right decision in protecting our students and instead of being reactionary by adding police officers to our schools, to be preventionary and supporting counselors, community members, and psychologists to prevent these tragedies from happening in the first place. Thank you.
Georgina Ramos.
Good evening. My name is Georgina Ramos. I'm 16 and I go to Middle Creek High School. Today I'm here to discuss the lack of protection for Black and brown students in the Wake County Public Schools. For example, school to prison pipeline, which is a real thing, a disturbing national trend where children are taken out of public schools and put into juvenile and criminal justice systems. Many of these children have learning disabilities or history of poverty, abuse, or neglect, and would benefit from additional educational and counseling services. Instead, they are isolated, punished, and pushed out. School to prison pipeline also exposes undocumented students to possible detention and deportation. 70% of students involved in school arrest are Black or brown. Students should be educated, not tormented and incarcerated. Thank you.
Nancy Haywood.
Hi, I'm Nancy Haywood. I apologize, I'm very nervous. I haven't been here since 2 years ago when we were doing Safe Summer Camp. So thank you for letting me speak today. I'm here on a new initiative called Lock Our Classrooms. I've been in contact with my local school board representative as well as our chair, and they were kind enough to forward emails with a product our group is proposing to the school system. We are asking that the school system allow us to work with them, help fund a product that would add an extra layer of security to our school system. We realize that there is nothing that is going to be a 100% fix-all for our schools. We're not here to talk about guns for teachers, police. We understand that locking mechanisms are in the work for every school, but we also understand it takes time to get those installed. So we are asking for you to partner with us and allow us to help you. Thank you.
This evening, we have 3 information items. We will start with our first, which is a human resource presentation of the 26th Teacher of the Year semifinalist. There was no real segue or transition, but thank you to our young people who spoke. It just was not a good transition, but thank you to our young people for speaking.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Burns. It is my pleasure to bring to you this evening the Wake County Public School System 2018-19 semifinalists for Teacher of the Year. Awardees, when I call your name, please come to the front, be greeted by Dr. Burns, and remain up front until all recipients come forward. Lauren Abraham, Hortons Creek Elementary, second grade teacher. Owen Armstrong, River Oaks Middle, physical education and health teacher. Shane Berry, Athens Drive Magnet High, physics science teacher. Paul Cancelleri, Roseville Middle, 8th grade science. Lizzie Casey, Northwoods Elementary, 5th grade science teacher. Allison Caldill, Barwell Road Elementary, ESL K2. Allison Duvall, West Cary Middle, Family and Consumer Science teacher. Callie Ellenboss, Vance Elementary, ESL K2. Carly Eller, Leesville Road Elementary, 3rd grade. Dana Ellison, Roseville Elementary, 2nd grade. Pam Foster, Forest Pines Drive Elementary, 4th grade ELA. Jasmine France, Apex Friendship High, math. Peggy Freer, Pleasant Union Elementary, music teacher. Terrence Hennett, Nightdale High, social studies. Tori Hunt, Powell Magnet Elementary, first grade. Elizabeth Jordan, Fox Road Magnet Elementary, fifth grade. Dale Midget, Millbrook High, math. Kathleen Noland, Laurel Park Elementary, third grade teacher. Jason Norton, Herbert Akins Road Elementary, fifth grade. Amanda Richardson, Moore Square Magnet Middle, special education. Mary Lou Ringwood, Forestville Road Elementary, special programs teacher, technology. Tara Rude, Reedy Creek Elementary, STEM technology teacher. Courtney Rudder, East Cary Middle, AIG teacher. Laura Richardson, Pine Hollow Middle, 8th grade ELA and social studies. Jennifer Wood, Rand Road Elementary, first grade. And Wendy York, Wendell Magnet Elementary, art teacher. Audience, if you will, please give them all a final round of applause. And finalists, if you will face the board, they'd like to bring greetings, please.
Thank you, Dr. Holland, and thank each of you for the stellar work that you've done. The acknowledgement of your peers and your colleagues speaks for itself as you are all standing before us. Congratulations is only the tip of the iceberg that expresses how grateful we are for you choosing to teach in Wake County Public Schools and choosing to put our students first in all things teaching and learning, and we are forever grateful. And to Ms. Hartenstein's point, some of you look very, very young, so it looks like we'll be looking to continue to see the great teacher leaders that you'll become and the way that you'll continue to grow with us in Wake County Public Schools. And so hats off for all the great work that you do. I'm sure many of you are like, and I still have work to do, because the teacher's work is never done. I completely understand, and so I will not belabor this, but I do. You heard the round of applause and us standing, and I hope that that's a visual to carry you when things get tough, and the fact that some of you are going to have to go home and still do a little bit more work. So remember that we're grateful and graciously and humbly are proud that you work for us at Wake County Public Schools and our partners in teaching all of our students. Thank you. And my grateful point of privilege is, and you are all dismissed if you'd like to be. And we will give you a few minutes to grab your things if you'd like to leave. for student achievement, because this will be our first time hearing it, because it didn't end up on worksheet. So I'll just.
She's sort of asking if we have a request.
She's afraid we won't ask any questions, and I was like, if we don't, then I'll make the recommendation at the end. Okay. Mr. Blumberg's over there still talking. Exactly. Actually, funny you say that's what I just said to Kathy, and I actually said to the principals too. Because it's our first time hearing it. So, thank you all for your patience. We will now have our next information item by Dr. Conley and Beth Hodge.
Thank you, Chair Johnson Hostler, board members, Dr. Burns. We're coming to you today with two items. The first one is around restart calendar changes. As you know, we have Restart Schools in our school system, and as a strategic initiative to try to improve student achievement, these Restart Schools are coming with some proposals related to calendar changes tonight. And so Beth Hodge, our Director of Innovation and Strategic Initiative, is going to walk us through the presentation, and we also have the respective principals and the area superintendents here should there be some questions in detail.
Okay. And for board members, you will note we did not have a work session today, so I asked to move this for information. You please feel free to let this be your first time hearing this, and then we can actually move it to student achievement or another committee meeting if you need time to mull this over. So do not feel pressure tonight to ask all your questions. We will return to this on another agenda.
And we're not asking for a vote tonight. We'll bring it back to March 20th meeting for action.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Do you all have the deck? It's coming here too. Perfect. All right. So the first topic we're going to talk about tonight is the calendar change request that these 8 schools, 8 of our designated Restart schools would like to bring forward. The changes are various, so we're going to group them together for you based upon the requests that they have. I did want to let you know that we have had a wide variety of collaborations, inputs, and feedback from not only their community and their staff, but also central office personnel as well. So there's been a long process, an arduous process for thinking through how this impacts students and learning. So the first change requested is from, let's see, I can't see that up there. So Carroll Magnet Middle, East Garner Middle, and East Millbrook Middle School. They would like to change the 6 currently scheduled early release days to be full teacher work days rather than early release days, and the dates are listed there for you. Barwell Road and Walnut Creek have a request that's a little bit more in-depth, and you can see on the slides there that they're asking to return to the 180 school days for students from the current 190 school days. They want to add 2 early release days at the start of the year for whole school staggered entry, and they would like to add 2 student days. They would like to also change the 6 early release days to 3 full student days and 3 teacher work days. East Garner Elementary School would like to move from a traditional calendar to a modified calendar. Thank you. Fox Road Elementary would like to change 3 of the 6 early release days to full work days and change 3 of the other early release days to full student days. And the dates that they have requested are listed there as well. East Wake Middle School would like to change from the Track 4 only calendar to a modified calendar. So that concludes our calendar change requests.
Just one comment for the board. You all know that Restart schools have added flexibility like charter schools, and so what the statute simply says is that a Restart school would have 185 days or 1,025 over 9 months, but doesn't have built in all of the other sort of requirements on calendar that are very strict. So just in terms of the legal parameters, there's more flexibility, even those are the parameters.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mahaffey?
The first question that came to mind with early release days, getting rid of early release days would be transportation. So when we hear this again, I'd like to know the impact that has on transportation and getting those students as well as students that might be a part of that route, whether in middle school, high school, elementary, how it impacts that.
The days that we're changing from the early release to full?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
For students, because we also
Yes.
have early release days that will have no school for students, which
Right.
will be different. Mr. Sutton, then Dr. Martin.
Yeah, I saw that one of the requests for a change was for professional learning. And my assumption is that all of these obviously have something to do with the impact on student achievement or student learning. But for each change, like what's the anticipated result? Like by doing X,
this will happen.
we at least expect.
Right.
And I know we, may not have any research, and may not be evidence yet, but this is sort of what we expect to happen or think will happen, or by doing this gives us the flexibility to then do.
Great.
The why.
Yes, absolutely.
Basically.
So the whys vary a little bit by school. So is there a particular school you would like to hear from, or would you like to?
I can speak to it in general.
each
Mr. Sutton.
change.
So all of these changes in the Restart schools, our ultimate desired outcome is obviously improved student achievement. And so some of these strategies that we're trying, the end goal is to improve student achievement. So whether it's increased amount of staff development, professional development for teachers, which of course ties back to student achievement, or it's the number of hours that students are receiving instruction, the ultimate goal for any of these strategies that we're trying, the ultimate goal is improve student achievement. So.
I got that. Okay.
Okay. And we have logic models and things like that for each of the innovations that the schools are trying that can go a little bit deeper. And so should we bring this to student achievement, we might can bring some examples of some of that work.
That's what I would recommend, is when this is on the student achievement agenda, that you bring the logic models, or at the very least explain to board members how each school in their school community arrived to their decision.
Okay, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Does that address it, Mr. Sutton, if we put it at student achievement?
Yeah, happy to do it in student achievement. Just, I guess, more on the. I'm assuming each principal, each school improvement team, whoever came up with it, like, well, this is what we saw, this is what we were experiencing, and so we think by implementing this change, this will help us then do.
Yeah, I think the logic model will probably do that.
They do have some in-depth information that they can provide you around that. We have that prepared.
Thank you. Dr. Martin.
So my question has to do with the 2 calendar changes, and I'm very sympathetic to moving to the modified calendar. When my daughter was on it, we loved the calendar. Whenever we've done calendar changes in the past, that's where we get some community and parent pushback. And we've talked a lot about making sure decisions are made early enough so people can plan. So I would like to know about community involvement in the decision, planning. If the track 4 year-round to modified is not as big of a switch as traditional to modified, dealing with things like child care and whatnot are significant issues. So I'd just love to know a little bit more about what community engagement there's been, what community buy-in there's been.
Would you like to hear about that tonight, or at,
it can be now or it can be whenever. And again, I'm very sympathetic. I like to see the direction, but just want to make sure that
absolutely.
that work's being done.
Carmen Graff, principal at East Gardner Elementary School. We have held several parent community forums, so to say, principal coffees. We've talked to parents in carpool. We've sent out Google surveys. We have, and most recently, called 80-some parents in the past 3 days to have personal conversations. with our parents about the proposed calendar change. We do have strong parent support. And actually, parents wanted to come today, but I said I don't know if this is the appropriate forum for them to come when we're just talking about the calendar change. Sound good?
No, that's very good to hear, because when there is that community engagement, things like this are successful. When there's not, then it usually ends up getting pushed back. So just very glad to hear that there's been that engagement.
And this is the second time since I've been at East Garner that we have proposed a calendar change. We did it 2 years ago and had strong support, and the support is still there for the calendar change.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hartenstein, Mr. Fletcher.
I have some questions about the staggered entry for Walnut Creek, and I've got to find the slide.
Barwell.
And Barwell? In terms of what's going to happen on those, are you bringing the whole school in? I mean, like half of the school, so that K-5 is there, not like...
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And tell me what the advantage is going to, because I'm very intrigued by that. So what do you see as the advantages of doing that?
We have done staggered entry for the past 2 years under the Restart model, because we were the first 2 schools to do to be Restart schools. Half of the students come in, and we're able to go ahead and do some of their baseline in-class assessments. We have parent orientations, we do school tours, we set the tone. So it's really a lot of relationship building where we set the tone for a really great, successful school year. And we can do it in a smaller setting with only half of the student body there.
So I'm Tammy Carey, principal of Barwell, and we've done it the few years that we've been Restart already with tremendous success. So the great advantage is we get to do what we do with kindergarten with the whole school. So we're able to build a lot of relationships. Parents come with their kids for the first day, much like you would do at a college orientation. And so we spend that whole day getting them plugged into the school, into transportation, the cafeteria, any other programs after school that they would like. And with our everybody gets to hear expectations. Everybody gets to know what those school expectations are, so when we hit the ground, we can hit them running. So it's been tremendously successful all the way up through even when we have parents who have students at different grades. The first year we did 3 days, last year we did 2. Parents have come on all 3 days, so they have that individual time with their own child and their own child's teacher. So it's been tremendously successful, and we've done it K-5, and parents and staff and students really enjoy it.
So are you able to get through all of your M class in those 2 days?
No, not all
Okay.
of it. But the teachers are very supportive of the fact that we were able to at least perform some of those. And we have blitz teams where a lot of teachers come together and perform those assessments, and it really takes the burden off the classroom teachers.
Okay.
We did it a little bit differently. We didn't do the benchmark assessments. What we did was all the relationship groundwork piece those 2 days. So when they came back into school the Monday, those pieces had been done already, so we were able to hit the ground running and do that a little bit more efficiently, effectively. But both ways have garnered really great support and effect for the children.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Fletcher, then Ms. Cash.
Can you, before you leave, do you have a sense of the portion of your student population that will show up in July that wasn't part of your school community last year? What's the churn for you two, for your 2 school populations?
So since we've been single track 4, we've had a lot less transiency. The other thing that's helped us at Barwell was that we were an overflow school for Walnut Creek at one time. So we actually had several kids come in after August, almost into the first quarter. So we have the majority of our school staff here and being the 3rd year, so we don't have a lot of
So you're a more
missing
stable
kids.
population than
Yes,
perhaps
sir.
previously.
Yes, sir.
And same for us. We did lose some students to Rogers Lane, but for the most part, we kept a large chunk of our students
So we've had
intact.
some schools in that part of our community that have had 40% turnover of their
That's not
student
us.
population.
Right.
So you're much more stable than that.
Absolutely.
Hallelujah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I had I had a question on another school. What if a school that wants to make a transition to the modified calendar? What about feeder pattern? How is that being considered in that Well, my colleague would like to ask the same question.
They all want to know if you're changing your calendar.
What
and it
about the
changes
middle school?
feeder.
What happens after kids leave your program? Where are they going to go?
And we do have one middle school who's changing their calendar as well. East
Yeah,
Wake. But same.
It doesn't matter.
She's changing it.
He's want to speak to it.
Yeah.
Just that we've been talking with Glenn about. Right, I knew you had been.
Do you want us to say? Okay, sorry. So we have been in contact with student assignment, and we're given a list of students that would be impacted. So when I mentioned that over the past 3 days, we've been calling parents, we've been talking about the advantages. First of all, to make sure our parents were aware, because some parents still, no matter how many times you put it out on Class Dojo, School Messengers, Google Documents, are unaware of the calendar change. So those personal phone calls really gave us the opportunity to set the stage, to talk about the advantages, what we've done as school improvement initiatives already to get the gains that we've made at East Garner, and then what we would be allowed to do even further with the calendar change. So I think that has helped our parents understand the change. Also, having 5 children in Wake County, I have 3 at high school on traditional and 2 at year-round, track 1, and so I live that life of having my family on 2 different calendars. So I was able to speak with our families about the overlaps on the modified calendar versus traditional
Okay,
calendar.
Let me rephrase the question.
Oh, okay, sure.
The middle school that your children move into
Yes.
is currently on track 4.
Yes. So,
So what is the middle school feeder relationship to you being on modified? That's what has that been talked about? Is North Garner in the conversation? Or
And
should it
East
be?
Garner.
Sure. So I have
Just feeder to
several
2.
middle schools
That's
that we
right.
feed into. North Garner is one of them.
Right.
Dillard is also another one. East
Okay.
Garner Magnet Middle is another one. And so North Garner actually gets the least of my students.
Okay.
I don't have that number in front of me,
Well,
but we can certainly get that
That would
number.
be something to explore for our next conversation.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, she has been in touch with student assignment and have been having those conversations about that
Okay.
as well.
Was that school the primary question? Because we have East Wake also, but their calendar moving from track 4.
Well, as the middle school, they've got a different issue. What's the feeder into them?
Right. Would you like to
That's
speak?
In,
gotta
out.
be you know. Well, you've got Wendell. I'm not sure, I don't know how we fill a middle school.
Hey, so Rebecca Ball, your principal, East Wake Middle. I have 21 feeder schools that are coming to my school, just because middle schools, exactly. So I have students that are coming from all calendars, and the middle school is an opportunity for parents are already expecting that there's going to be a lot of calendar adjustments just because of middle school in general. My 2 high schools that I'll be feeding into, East Wake High School and Knightdale High School, of course, are on traditional, and modified calendar is more closely aligned to a traditional calendar. It's not a big a switch as going from traditional to that is what my student assignment is as of today, 21 different schools that my students are coming from.
Magnets, all of those.
They're all correct. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a reminder to our board how much choice we have. Mr. Agee, then Ms. Kushner.
I was just curious, so you talked with the people at Lockhart, them being track 4, they like this idea of.
Yes, we've had communications with all the principals. We've talked about this. We've done very similar things that Ms. Graff has done as well. We have handed out surveys in Carpool. We've collected them. We've had them on our website. We've met with our PTA general meeting and our board meeting. I have 92% of my staff in favor of this. So we've garnered a lot of support for this.
And is Carver a feeder into yours also?
I think there's 4 students coming from Carver. Yeah. They come from a lot of different places. Yeah.
Ms. Kushner, then Ms. Cash.
Thank you. And wanted to, I'm not going to make Ms. Martin Jenkins and Ms. Carey get back up, but thank you for being the pioneers in Restart. And you all have tried a lot of different things, and I appreciate that as leaders, you're taking your schools to, the next level. So let me thank you, and I appreciate hearing from principals, all of you here tonight. It's useful for the board to hear directly from you on some of these changes that we're looking at. My question is actually on the 4 schools that are Restart that are not on this list, Bug, Millbrook Elementary, Poe, and Wendell. And will we hear, is it simply that they're not looking at calendar changes, but we'll be hearing about some other plans with them? Correct. On Restart? Absolutely. There were, this was one of many options that they have to employ, and at this time they felt like that was not something that they wanted to pursue. And there are some other things that we'll be bringing forward for them over the next months, I'm sure, and years. And I'm intrigued that some of the early release days, we're, as y'all know, we're 1920, we're looking at converting full days and not having early release days in the calendar. So we'll find out how that works with you. All can be the pioneers on that. So thank you again.
When you bring the transportation piece, just be sure you check too about transportation with the calendar changes, what impact that has on our whatever we do.
Mm-hmm. We do have all of that information for you. Right. We have a pretty robust deck prepared for you already. So we have had lots of back and forth and conversations because we realize how critical that is to the conversation.
Mr. Sutton.
What is the timing of this decision? When will this be brought
We're
back?
bringing it back on March 20th.
Okay.
For this academic for 18-19?
For the 18-19 school year, yes.
Okay.
So I'm looking at Ms. Moore because we already have a fairly stacked student achievement.
She already prepared it too.
Okay. We're good. Thank you.
Sorry, I had to do a little thinking ahead, Mr. Sutton, because when we got rid of our work session, we had to figure out how to make sure the board was able to get all the information put out to them, because we couldn't get it all done today.
We anticipated.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Are you ready for me to move to the next topic
Yes,
then?
we will have questions, so you can get started on that one.
Okay. Thank you. So the next topic that we're going to talk about is the summer school testing program. And we have 3 schools who would like to bring forth a request for summer school summer school with retesting. And again, as with the calendar options, we had many conversations across central office departments that could guide, support, and direct the schools as they were thinking through how they would like to do this. DPI does provide some guidance for us around summer school with retesting, and you'll hear us talk about summer school with retesting because it's not a retesting program, it is summer school, and then students have the opportunity also to retest. And the DPI guidance is provided there that student participation is voluntary. Schools offering summer school must have a summer school program that has been approved by the local board, which is why we are talking with you all about it. Schools must notify parents about the summer program, including but not limited to the dates it will occur, purpose, who is eligible to attend. And we do have more of that information for you because it's so specific to individual schools, and we felt like you needed to hear that. And we have to have this, as far as timelines go, we have to have this submitted by April 2nd, and that's why we'll be bringing this back also on March 20th. So here are the wide variety of central office departments that have been a part of this conversation to inform and ensure that we're making sure all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So Carroll Magnet Middle School is one of the schools that would like to have a summer program, and their program goals are listed here. They want to focus on reading and math for their students who have met the minimum passing requirements in the course by their quarterly progress reports. Their goals are to increase overall student mastery of reading and math standards and to strengthen students' foundational skills and reading and math standards in preparation for subsequent courses. Here are some details about the dates that they would like to have the summer school program, when they will be retesting during that summer school program, what learning will happen on which dates, what will be the focus of each of the dates, and how they plan to develop the curriculum or where they plan to get the curriculum from. So we have that information for each one of the schools that's coming forward, as well as the funding source. So the school will provide the funding source for, Carroll Magnet Middle will provide the funding source for the summer school program. Here's a little bit about their student participation, who they would like to bring in. And this information, this is based upon current year's data and their analysis of who they think will be successful and who this will support the best. So I'll pause here for questions for Carroll Magnet Middle, because every school is so different. I don't want to just run through.
Ms. Hartenstein.
If I read this correctly, the students that get to participate will have scored a level 2, and the 20 kids that are closest to passing are the ones you're going to serve. To help me understand your thinking that you're going to have 8 teachers or 7 teachers for 20 kids.
We wanted to have, I'm sorry, Elizabeth McWilliams, proud principal and lead
Because there's
innovator.
something magical that's going to happen when you pretty much 1 to 3.
We were talking about having a teacher for 20 children in each of the courses. And so we are proposing having a Math 6, Math 7, Math 8, a Reading 6, Reading 7, Reading 8.
I knew I couldn't be reading it exactly the way, I'm pretty little, so I'm sorry. So,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, might want to
It's all
reword
right.
that for people like me.
I apologize. Any other questions? We good?
Ms. Mahaffey.
I'm curious because having been a participant of a similar program back in the day, is it just the focus on the testing? Is it focused on the standards? What's the focus outside of, like, what's?
Great question.
Yeah.
So we're looking at targeting students who are right on the border, who are going to, within 5 days, benefit from some really targeted instruction so that we give them an opportunity for success. We understand that there's a broad range of research that retesting doesn't necessarily result in additional learning, and so we want to be very mindful and intentional in selecting students who will benefit from this program. And so, of course, we'll be providing dynamic learning experiences for students, which we believe will result in proficiency.
Dr. Martin.
Sure, Common Core standards.
So I guess my question is not just for this program, but I'll ask it now because it's the same question for everybody. Are these school-specific summer schools, or is there an opportunity for other students to access them, and/or should we think about this as a pilot for potentially having regional things like this in the future, assuming this works well? I'm just, how school-specific is it versus
Right.
broader opportunity?
Right now, it is very specific to the Restart schools that desired to do that. We had conversations with all of the Restart schools, and there's varying interest in being able to do summer programs versus summer programs with retesting. We offer for Title I students summer program already. We have Read to Achieve summer camp. So we have a few different, but if you're speaking specifically to the summer school with retesting, as these 3 schools are doing tonight, it is very specific to these 3 right now.
I'm going to call on my memory to bring up a very common phrase that one of our senior administrators used to use when we talked about the whole concept of helping students recover. Drifting along in a river of hopelessness. And I see this program as being the dam that stops the river and helps young people reach their achievement. Thank you very much for bringing this forward.
It's a great idea.
All right, so we have next East Garner Elementary School. And they would like to provide additional targeted instruction through innovative and dynamic learning experiences, again, based upon the Common Core, as you'll see in a little bit, in order to allow students to demonstrate mastery or proficiency on the state assessment, and to provide students with the opportunity to retake the assessment to support their desire to demonstrate success, particularly for students in 5th grade who would like to go on to higher math in middle school. So again, some of the details specific to who will take care of these programs at the school level, the dates, the times for the learning, the dates and the times for the retesting. And East Garner Elementary is a Title I elementary school, and they will work with our Title I department that's already been figured out to host the summer school with testing program. So it'll be a combination of Title I funds and school funds. And here is the criteria for the students who will be invited to participate. So students who achieve 1 to 10 points below the EOG cut score of level 3, and personal invitations and phone calls to all students who meet the criteria they will be invited. They will go out. Okay. So that is East Garner Elementary Schools request.
Questions for East Garner? Ms. Mahaffey?
I'll wait until.
Go ahead and ask
Okay.
questions. She's coming.
So my questions are, how many students are you hoping to target this first year? And it's written in here, dynamic learning experiences. I know what that looks like for me. What does that mean for East Garner East Garner Elementary and these students?
Right. My Restart team and I are talking about innovative ways to make that happen and how we can be more engaging with our instruction, not only during the school day, but also during the summer school program. This would be our first time, so we're looking at different programs and resources that would help us do that with our students. But really digging in, being hands-on with our students, even more so than what we're doing now, to deepen and make learning more meaningful for our students in order to demonstrate proficiency. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, and about how many?
And the number of students, we're estimating roughly 20 to 30 students per grade level. But again, I am estimating that number because I do anticipate an increase of our students being able to pass this year with the school improvement initiatives that we have in place. Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you. All right. And finally, we have Fox Road Elementary School that would like to have a timely opportunity, excuse me, to receive additional targeted instruction and to apply lessons learned through their EOG experience. Students will be able to immediately garner time for reflection and support to better demonstrate their learning through year-end performance on EOGs. So they're adding an element of reflection to their learning experiences. Again, the details that we have for the logistics for this school. And Fox Road will pay for this themselves, even though they are a Title I school. In their conversations, they chose to go this route. And you can see that their focus is on Common Core standards based upon students' needs in math, literacy, and science, and that there will be differentiated grouping. And the criteria here Students who receive a 2 on 1 or more EOG tests as having the potential to demonstrate proficiency given the length of the engagement, the number of days. And they will hire a CCR teacher in order to help ensure that all students their needs are being met. And that's Fox Road Elementary School.
Mr. Fletcher.
And one of our new national magnet winners we heard about earlier tonight. Congratulations, Bob. I just wanted to point out, we've got the schools here saying they're going to be able to pay for these. That's another benefit that comes to a school in a restart status, is that they can convert lap salaries. They have other financial flexibilities that they have not had previously. So it's not magic money. It's not money that was allocated they didn't use for the purpose. It is the flexibility that's being given to Restart schools to make sure every penny goes to the right use, which is most often defined as student learning. So wanted to add that clarification.
That's a great point to point out, Ms. Fletcher. Ms. Mahaffey, then Ms. Hart, and then Ms. Kushner.
I wanted to ask again about how many students are you planning at or anticipating targeting? I know can't really.
I'm Bob Lewis. I'm the principal
Hey.
of Fox Road Elementary. It is an estimate at best, and we're thinking somewhere in the same range that East Garner is, somewhere between 60 and about 90, 100 students. We have a little broader way of defining the students that we're looking for in our potential numbers, but it is an estimate.
And this will be separate from the teaching to the test sort of scenario. I like that you put reflection in there.
So that's one thing we don't do with students. We don't give them the opportunity to really have their own voice in what frustrations they might have had or how they approach it. And this is a real opportunity to do it when it's fresh. And it's one of the reasons why we want to do it.
Mr. Lewis, why did you not include 5th grade?
It is 5th grade as well.
In science.
It's science.
But only in science.
No, it's actually 5th in math and reading as well. Yeah.
You're just adding science for 5th grade.
Yes, just adding the science
Additionally.
for 5th grade additionally.
I read it that way as well. It's not.
It says, and also provide support.
I'm sorry if I might have
That's all right.
misguided you in the way that I
Ask
wrote
Julie.
it.
She
Yeah.
knows the grammatical parts that are, yeah. Maybe I just had trouble with reading. Yeah, I know.
You didn't practice like Roxy said earlier.
No, I actually am. I'm actually duly identified.
Ms. Kushner.
Thank you. I just wanted to add on to Mr. Fletcher's comment about having, the flexibility that the restarts provide, that the principals and the school-based decision-making that's able to go on with you all having that flexibility with your calendar, with your budget. So it's exciting work, but also as a board, we will hold you accountable, but that's, part of it as well, being part of a larger system. So it's exciting to hear from you and to learn more details about the work. Thank you.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, Ms. Mahaffey.
I have one more holistic question, and for those who will know me, this is really, I like that you roped in child nutrition services. What is that going to look like? I know it's going to be different for each school, but how is that going to work for these students?
Students will be fed. You can speak to it too. Yeah.
They will have a lunch. That's the intent.
Regardless of what time their session is?
Well, in our particular situation, it's throughout the lunch time.
Period.
I know the others have some different times, so I can only speak for Fox Road.
Okay.
To your point, Ms. Mahaffey, as you noticed on one of the slides, we had staff from all the central services departments involved in the restart work. Some of the departments have, because our numbers of schools are increasing in terms of ones who are utilizing restart, some of the departments have actually designated a person within the department who get smart around Restart initiatives, what the law allows as it relates to their particular department and needs, whether it's Title I or it's finance. For example, Mark Winters in the finance department, he's identified a finance person that they study the Restart rules, what's allowed, what's not allowed, and then they meet with our principals. And so that you know also, these principals also participate in a broader network of principals across the state from all the Restart schools that come together to collaborate to see what can we learn from each other. And so, I think my closing comments would be that, this is about trying new things. This is about having the flexibility and the opportunities to try new things that we've not been able to try in other schools. Sometimes you hear the term best practice or what's research-based. Well, this is the research now that we're doing, and so the research will come out of this work. The best practice will come out of this work, and so sometimes the best practice is right amongst us. So that's what this Restart work is about.
Yeah, and I definitely applaud the fact that we're using several different strategies to actually be able to look at. And to Ms. Kushner's point, there's some of our restarts that aren't participating in this, that these actually will provide some evidence for strategies that have worked or lessons learned. So I appreciate there being various strategies. Most importantly, as a parent of a student at one of our Restart schools, it's also important. It was said earlier, but I also heard the question that Carmen, you reiterated that the engagement of the parents and the entire school community, I think, is an important element that's worth lifting up so that everyone is reminded that this was not created in isolation with central services in our schools, but it was a community involvement from each of those schools. So we appreciate the hard work and diligence it takes to include your parents in your school community.
Any other principals or any other comments any other principals like to make before we close on area soups? Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again soon with more questions. Thank you, principals and area superintendents.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve our consent items as listed.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, please know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We do have one action item tonight, and, following suit of calendars and flexibilities. Ms. Moore.
Good evening. I'm bringing this evening, got to get my thoughts right, okay. I'm bringing this evening the calendars for 18-19 for our early college schools. These are our 3 schools in partnership with Wake Tech. That's the Wake Early College of Health Sciences, Vernon Malone College and Career Academy, and North Wake College and Career Academy. We are also bringing the calendars for the 2 leadership academies, Wake Young Men's and Wake Young Women's, in partnership with St. Augustine University, and then the calendar for NC STEM Early College in our partnership with NC State. So we always do those calendars a little bit later because we have to wait for the university to set their academic calendar. These are for 18-19. All of our calendars for traditional modified year-round are already adopted, were a while ago. So the university has now released their information, and they do have 180 days of instruction. Their early release days coincide with those of the other calendars that have already been adopted, and all the other aspects of the calendar law have been addressed, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Kushner.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the 2018-19 instructional calendars for the schools that were listed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, move that we go into closed session to consider confidential personal information protected under GS 143-318.11A1, A3, and A6, and 115C-319, to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privileges provided in GS 143-318.11A3, to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in GS 143-318.11A3 due to current litigation, Shirley Davis versus Wake County Schools, Industrial Commission, file number 16-048609. Sanai Hester, a minor by and through her guardian ad litem Danae Griffin, and Alvin Hester, individually versus Wake County Board of Education, Wake County Superior Court, 17 CVS 013347. Eliza Marlowe, a minor by and through her guardian ad litem Woody Webb Jr., Stuart Marlowe, and Jill Marlowe versus Wake County Board of Education, Wake County Superior Court 17 CVS 3607, and EF by and through his parent, Eric Fennell, versus Wake County Public School System Board of Education, and all Wake County Superior Court 16 CVS 011306, and to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the board in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the board, and to consult with and instruct board staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the board on the particulars of the acquisition of real estate property for public infrastructure improvements related to the Lincoln Heights Elementary School site, and to receive the board's instructions as to the position to be taken on behalf of the board in negotiations in relation thereto.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Sutton. You practiced your reading. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please note by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion carries. We will now go into closed session.
Reading is fundamental.
Yes, it is. Thank you.